The Final Fantasy Magic the Gathering release is just round the corner, and I know there is a whole wave of you new players that are coming into the game. You love Final Fantasy, you're seeing all these amazing cards, your favorite characters in fact are all getting cards, and I know that you cannot wait to build your very own commander deck around your favorite character. But you have realized that building a commander deck from scratch, if you know nothing about Magic the Gathering, can be really daunting and quite overwhelming, and you have no idea where to start. In Commander, there are thousands and thousands of cards to choose from, so how do you know where to start? How do you know how to find cards that specifically work for your commander? Well, that is what I aim to answer in this video. Okay, so today we're going to be using two resources. One is called Scryfall, the other one is called EDHREC. Okay, so we're going to be starting with Scryfall. That's my personal preference of which of these two to use, but both have their advantages, which I will share with you in a minute. So I've got Vivi here. I've chosen Vivi as the first one just because I know he's a super popular Final Fantasy character. Gavin was super excited when he revealed this character, so I thought, hey, why not start with Vivi? So let's say you've decided that you want to build a deck around Vivi. So you type in Vivi in the Scryfall database, you click on Vivi, he's here. Now what do? How do we find cards that are going to work well with Vivi if we want to use Vivi as our commander? Because of course we know that any card that is red or blue is going to be legal in the deck, but that's not really dumbing it down very much, okay? That we would be here forever if we were going through every red and blue card. So instead, we want to find cards that specifically work with what Vivi is trying to do. Now, we can read here his ability, but again, how do we find cards that work with non-creature spells? How do we find cards that work with counters or deal damage? Or there's just a lot going on here, okay? And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. So here, you're going to scroll down to where it says Toolbox, right? And then keep going down, and the last button here, Open on Scryfall Tagger. That is the button you want. You're going to click on that button. It's going to bring you to this page, okay? Now here, you can see all these separate little tags. And what's really cool is it's not just mechanical, but it's also from an artwork standpoint. So if you wanted to, you could literally just find cards that fall under these little tags, right? Like Black Mage. So let's say you want to go very heavy themed with your deck, then you could click this, and then it's going to show you every card in Magic the Gathering that features a Black Mage in it, right? Which is quite cool, okay? Or Vivi himself, right? Click Vivi, and now suddenly it shows you every card that features Vivi in the artwork, okay? Very nice. But we're talking from a mechanical standpoint, right? So you're going to come down to here where it says card, right? And we've got all these individual little tags, and the community do this, right? People that know a lot more about Magic the Gathering than you do, they can identify what a card is trying to do, and then they put them and group them into these individual tags, right? And it's super helpful, especially for new players like yourself, right? So we don't necessarily need to click on all of these, okay? Because some of them is like be quite hard to build a deck around. Like, for example, like Cast Trigger U, that's quite vast. So I wouldn't really recommend that. But the sort of thing you want to be looking at is, you know, what is this card that trying to do, right? So Vivi, for example, we can see here 1/1 counters, so we've got gain PP counters. So that's going to show us every card that gains counters. But more specifically, it says whenever you cast a non-creature spell. That's very key. Whenever you do X, right? So we know that we are going to want to put a lot of non-creature spells in the deck. But not only that, if we're going to have lots of non-creature spells in the deck, then chances are we want cards that synergize with non-creature spells, right? So that's when you've got stuff like this, non-creature synergy. So you can click on that, and it's going to show you every card that synergizes with non-creature spells specifically, right? But how can we go this even further? Because we can see that we're seeing cards here like this Aligned Heart, which is not the right color, is white, or Black Mage's Rod, which is black, right? So first things first, you're going to come up here, click this little button here, and it's going to open it directly in Scryfall. And then in the search bar, if you want to search for specific colors, you're going to press space and then type in CI, and that stands for color identity, right? Do these two little dots here, and then type in rather the color or just the first letter of the word. So red, blue is not B in these terms, it's actually U because B is black, okay, just so you know, right? So color identity, red, blue, and then enter. And now it's going to show me every card that is a red or a blue card that synergizes with non-creature spells. So you can see straight away, Displace a Kitten. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, exile up to one target non-land permanent you control, right? Might not be useful unless you're trying to blink stuff. So, you know, not every card it's going to show you is going to be useful, okay? So you're more looking at what cards are going to be useful. Now, this Firebrand Archer, for example, actually does synergize with what Vivi is trying to do, because Vivi is what is known as a pinger. And if you don't know, that is a card that basically just pings someone for a damage, like non-direct creature damage, non-combat damage, I should say. So Firebrand Archer here, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. Same thing here, Kessig Flamebreather. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Kessig Flamebreather deals 1 damage to each opponent. And again, same thing again, Consecration Mate. You get the picture, right? So straight away, we have found creatures that are going to work really well. Flux Channeler. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, proliferate, right? We know Vivi is making counters, so proliferate. Can't even speak today. Proliferating is going to be good, and it's even better when that proliferate is synergizing with what we are trying to do. So this is just such a fantastic way to find cards that are going to work well with the deck. Even stuff like Stormcatch Mentor, right? It's reducing the cost of our instants and sorceries. We know we're going to have a lot of non-creature spells in the deck, so we know that's going to work really, really well. Okay, so let's try another tag. So let's go back. Not that one. Let's go back here. Okay, so we've got the non-creature spell synergy, but let's say we want more stuff that's also going to ping our opponent, right? So we've got here Pinger. So this is going to show us all creatures that are pingers, but we've also got Burn Player, which is very, very similar. I think ping, yes. So a ping is referring to a small amount of damage. So you can see here what the tag does. Effects that deal just 1 to 2 damage repeatedly. Okay, so it's like a constant little jabs of damage, and then a burn I think can be essentially anything that it can be like a load of damage. That's the difference. So it's like a lot of damage at one time, or the ping is like the little damage over time. Now we can see Vivi is essentially doing both of those, right? Because every pinger is burn, but not every burn is ping. I think that's kind of how it works. So yeah, so let's have a look at other little pingers. So we come here, Bosh. Now we can see again that Kessig Flamebreather is coming up, but then it's also going to show us cards that are going to ping that aren't going to be around non-creature spells, like this Thermo Alchemist. Tap it, deal 1 damage to each opponent. You know, whenever you draw a card, Niv it, the Firebrand deals 1 damage to any target. So we can see here, if we want to lean more into like the pinger side of thing, then that is going to help us find those cards. But yeah, you get the picture, right? So this is a really, really nice way to give us a little head start in finding some cards that are going to work really well with our commander. So let's take a different commander, for example. So I've got another page open here. So this is every legendary that is in the Final Fantasy set. I'm actually going to show you how I did this, right? So I went to Advanced Search. I went into Sets, Final Fantasy. Then you're going to come up here, type Legendary. So this is going to show us every card that essentially we can use as our commander. Search these options, boom, right? And you can literally just go through here, look through all of these cards and find your favorite character. So let's have a little look. Now, I'm not very familiar with Final Fantasy, but I have been playing a little bit of 10. So I'm going to find a character from Final Fantasy 10 that I would like. So here we go. Tidus Blitzball Star. Let's go with Tidus, okay? So Tidus, we come down here, Scryfall Tagger. Okay, Whenever an artifact you control enters, put a 1/1 counter on Tidus. So, artifact fall. That's whenever an artifact hits the battlefield. Then we've got counters, gain PP counters. Whenever Tidus attacks, tap target creature an opponent controls. Tap a creature. Here we go, guys. So we've already now got some perfect tags to start finding some cards that are going to work well with the deck. So we know we are going to be having a lot of tapping going on. So we can just go tap a creature. Go on here. Let's say we want to go into that tapping theme. Okay, we want to find the colors we want. So we're going to type CI, blue and white. There we go. And now, here we go. We've got a load of cards that are tapping our opponent's stuff. 40 of the consoles, creatures your opponent controls enter tapped. Whenever a creature an opponent controls enters, you gain a life. And again, another card here, another dino, makes my opponents enter tapped. Cryptic command, counter spell, tap stuff, all very, very nice. Yeah, so if you want to be annoying and you want to build your deck around lots of tapping stuff, then a lot of these cards are going to be really, really nice for you. So we also know we're going to have lots of artifact stuff in here. So what about if we had some other cards that cared about when artifacts enter? Let's go on artifact fall. Go on here. Okay, lots of different colors here. So CI. There we go. Boom. Okay, so now we've got all of our cards that care about when artifacts enter. So if we have a few of these, then as soon as we play an artifact, we are going to get multiple triggers, okay? Very, very nice. We can definitely start to build some synergistic stuff in here. Now, not actually many cards here that have artifact fall, only a few. So probably not the best, but you might have a few of these in the deck. Now, of course, this isn't the only way to do it. This is just more if you're trying to find specific cards that do the same thing that your commander is doing. So it's not always going to show you cards that synergize with the commander. It's only going to show you cards that are doing what your commander does. Okay, so you don't even necessarily have to do this with your commander. You can also do this with other cards that you like that work well in the deck and you want to find more of. Now, the second thing I wanted to show you guys is EDHREC. Okay, now this I really recommend if you are someone that even like what we've just done is too overwhelming for you. Like you want the ultimate spoon feedy experience, right? No judgment here. If that's what you want, if that's your jam, EDHREC has got you covered, right? So what this is a database based around statistics. So you're going to pick a card. So we've got Vivi here, and then it's going to show you, firstly, all these are newer cards that work well with Vivi. Then it's got high synergy cards that work well with Vivi, top cards, game changers. So all of this is basically data that is based on decks that have already been built. So people would have already been brewing some Vivi decks once it was revealed. Obviously, like we can only build decks around cards that we've seen, so it will be missing some cards that haven't been shown yet, so bear that in mind. But already we can get a really nice idea of what cards work well in our Vivi decks. We've got high synergy cards here, so now this is going to work really well with Vivi because it says when enchanted creature deals damage to an opponent, not when it deals combat damage. So this is going to trigger every time Vivi pings someone and you're going to draw a card. So that's an example of something that might not have come up in the taggers that works really, really well with Vivi. But yeah, so this is a really, really nice way, EDHREC, of just finding some cards that work well with the deck and you don't really want to try and work it out for yourself. You'd rather just look at some statistics. It's also nice as well if you just get stuck. You can come here, look for a little bit of inspiration, maybe see if there's any cards that you've missed or anything like that. Can be really, really nice. And you can even look, so you can go specific. It's just showing creatures, instances, sorceries, utility artifacts. Yeah, you can just go through all of them and it's just going to show you all of the highest statistical likelihood that these cards come up in decks. The thing is, if you just use EDHREC, your deck will just become pretty much just a carbon copy of everyone else's. For me, Commander is all about self-expression. So, you know, building a deck based around just whatever is statistically the most likely to come up in other decks is a little bit boring to me. Takes the fun out of deck building a little bit. But I think it is a good resource if you're stuck and you're overwhelmed and it's rather this or you don't build your own deck, you know, like then I think this is great and you should probably use it. So there you go, guys. There's our 2 different resources or ways that you can find cards that work well with your favorite Final Fantasy card. Let me know in the comments below if you found this useful. What characters are you going to be building decks around? And if you enjoyed this video but you want to learn a bit more about deck building, then go check this video out here.